All right. Going over live to Facebook. Hopefully we don't get any feedback this time. Can you hear us, Alan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We don't hear no feedback.
All right.
Thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for your patience, Alan.
No problem, man. What's what page you putting it on Facebook?
It should be on our Adams Brothers podcast page. We're live on Facebook right now. I can't see any of the comments right now.
Good.
But we're live on Facebook right now. We were having some technical difficulties earlier. Alan, man, we want to thank you for bearing with us, man. This thing has been working perfect for the last few times, man. We get on here today, man, and everything just want to act crazy, man.
Blame it on me, man. Blame it on me.
Thank you for your patience, man. We appreciate it, man. So we're here today with Mr. Alan Holiday, right, born and raised right there in Delray Beach, Florida, and he's the owner of Allen's Firearms and Training, and he's a licensed firearm instructor here in the state of Florida, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Alan's going to talk to us today about the Florida Permitless Carry law that Governor Ron DeSantis quietly signed into law, and it's going to take effect when, Alan?
It won't take effect until July 1st.
To July 1st, and anyone that is caught carrying a firearm on their person right now, as of today, what will happen to them?
The same laws apply until July 1st. You will be arrested or detained for illegally possessing a firearm.
Right, that's correct. So again, that law takes effect on July the 1st, 2023, this year. And again, it was quietly passed by Governor Ron DeSantis, and I am all for the Second Amendment myself, and I'm sure you are, and my brother as well.
I am.
Yeah, we are all for the Second Amendment. But let's kind of go over where you can and where you cannot carry the firearm.
First of all, Alan, can you tell us about yourself too? The audience about yourself.
Tell us about yourself. You know, you on the show again, but tell everybody that missed the last one. Tell us about you.
I was born and raised in South Florida, Delray Beach. Became a firearm instructor, I guess about 8-9 years ago, because I wanted to help as many people as I can become legally gun owning and gun carrying citizens. Because for myself, I carried dirty for many years. Just thank God I was smart enough not to do anything stupid or got in a situation where I was caught with a concealed firearm without a permit. I started out just trying to help people out. Then we turned into a family business. My wife is my administrative manager. My daughters do a lot of advertisement for us. You know, we all play a part in it. But, you know, we take it seriously, and we don't try to do the type of training to teach people to be vigilantes or, you know, we want to overthrow the government, anything like that. We got into it to educate people on being responsible gun owners.
And that's what we want. We want to educate people and help them be and continue to be a responsible gun owner here in the state of Florida and anywhere you go in this country.
Right.
Not just here in Florida, but you know, just let's talk a little bit about
this new law.
And again, it takes place on July the 1st of 2023, correct?
Right.
Go
ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know, with everything, it has its pros and cons. I'm all for the Second Amendment. I do think anyone who is of age and who's mentally stable and law-abiding citizens should be able to carry a firearm. I think because firearms have such a bad name, a lot of people think so negative of it. They never really get into it, or they never, they don't want to be around it. With the proper training and education, I think people, get over the stigmatism over with guns or whatever, whatever. Maybe I used the wrong word there, but they'll get over the negativeness of guns. I do think this law, some of the pros are there's a lot of our people that got in trouble when they were younger, but not convicted. They're not convicted felons, but every time they apply to get their license, they're denied. Okay, so now they will be able to carry, because they're not a convicted felon. And that's another thing people need to understand. Just because they're passing this law doesn't mean, okay, I couldn't get one before, I can carry one now. You need to make sure that you're legally able to possess a firearm. Okay. So if you're convicted felon, you got Baker acted or whatever, you cannot carry a firearm. Some people didn't want to get a permit because they didn't want to give up their medical marijuana card. So they decided they wanted a marijuana card versus a permit. So now they figured, yep, thank you, DeSantis, and I can carry it. I can keep my marijuana card. Yeah, that's going to get you in a little bit of trouble if you are caught with a firearm and you're under the influence.
Okay, and when he passed this law for people that never owned a gun before, like you and I and my brother, we had to take a basic firearms class back when we wanted to get our concealed carry permit here in Florida. They one of the requirements were that you had to take a class to make sure you know how to use a gun, how to load it, how to unload it, how to shoot it, more importantly. And now with this Florida permitless carry law, it doesn't require anyone to go and take a basic firearm class. So, I mean, I like the law, but I don't think it goes far enough for the people that want to be a responsible firearm owner for the first time. So what are your thoughts on that?
I recommend people get trained. You wouldn't put your child behind the wheel without teaching them how to drive, without having them get a driver's license. Well, if you're a responsible parent, you wouldn't. So I wouldn't have, my loved ones carry a firearm without training. That's why we started a business, to help others educate themselves and not just carry dirty, or carry not knowing what they're doing. There's a lot of ins and outs to carrying a firearm. Just because you have it doesn't mean that I can use it because I'm upset with somebody. If you cut me off, I can't wave my gun at you and say, I'm gonna cap you, That's considered brandishing, which is a form of threat, and it's a felony. So a lot of people don't get in trouble because they figure I don't need a permit now, or even people with permits feel like because they have a firearm license to carry conceal, that gives them license to bust it, pop a cap, as they say. But that's not so.
And most people that carry a gun, Alan, probably, I would say 50% or 60% of the people that I know carry a gun, never go get any firearms, just shooting, just practicing. They just have the gun and they think they can just pull it out and just shoot it. And a lot of times they don't even maintain the gun. They don't oil it. They don't do anything. They might just spray some WD-40. The average person might not even know how to take a gun apart. And a good percentage of people don't even know how to break their gun down, never learn how to.
Some of the people that I've trained, like the first few people I trained, like before I was having classes, when I was just doing like one-on-ones or, 2 or 3 people at a time, some of those people, that was their first time touching a firearm when I trained them. And to this day, they've only gone to the range once or twice. And I'm talking 7, 8 years ago, when they went to the range with me. So if they think they're ready for trouble, they're not. We all know when we get excited, our body and our mind may not work, together. You know, we get nervous. You know, even when you're driving, when you first start driving, you get nervous, you automatically hit the brakes. And sometimes you're not supposed to hit the brakes. You need to turn to the left, turn to the right. There's a lot of things that can go wrong because people are not, first of all, maintaining the firearms properly, carrying the right ammunition in the firearm, and being observant. The main thing with our trainings, we teach people to be observant. I can have two pistols on me and a shotgun, but if I'm not paying attention, somebody can come and hit me in the head with a bottle and end the, you know, in my ability to defend me or my loved ones. It's more than just carrying a gun. Some people feel safe just because they have it, but you need to be able to engage the threat, you know, in a timely, effective manner.
Yes, and in this time of mass shootings, you know, you look at TV, you see a lot of, especially the Black politicians, I see a lot of them are out on the front line pushing for gun control. Some of them, like just last week, I think that was in Tennessee, the 2 legislators or the 3 legislators were expelled. 2 of them was reinstated. But guns just have this negative stigma for some reason in the Black community. And I grew up around guns. Both of my grandparents owned guns. My granddad was in Georgia. He had a gun. He kept his gun. He kept his guns in a case, his shotguns in a case. I was fortunate enough as a young kid to be able to go hunting with my granddad and my brothers and my uncle that was there. So I've been around firearms all my life. And even here where I lived at with my other grandparents, they kept a gun, but we knew better to go touch that gun, to go play with that gun. We knew that. I think too, a lot of parents in this day and time now don't teach their kids about the do's and the don'ts of the guns. And that's where I think a lot of problems coming in. My grandson, I'm gonna take my grandson shooting. My grandson, even since he was a little young kid, he knew my guns. He knew I taught him not to touch the guns. I taught him if he ever saw the gun to come and tell me. And he would sometimes come in the room when I was sleeping. He would see my gun laying right next to me while I was sleeping. He would wake me up and tell me, "Granddad, your gun right there." But he know, and I think just a lot of parents should just teach their kids, and I don't think we would have this negative stigma of guns in our community, because the thing is, Alan, the criminals are the ones in our community that is causing all the chaos and confusion, not the law-abiding citizens like me, you, Darryl, and other law-abiding folks out there.
Well, one thing, I have a problem with politicians on both sides of the fence, because they all use this gun thing as a political talking point, you know, to build their base or to get people excited one way or the other. The truth is, none of those politicians care anything about us. That's first and foremost, okay?
That's right.
Our grandparents and our parents wouldn't have to worry about benefits, right? They'd have the same benefits that these politicians have. They serve one term, we take care of them for the rest of their life. A lot of them have Secret Service protection or whatever for the rest of their life, you know what I mean? But they're talking about guns. If they don't like guns so much, who's protecting them? Tell the people that's protecting them not to carry guns. All right, that's one. 2, you get other people that well, let's keep talking about the negative with guns. If law-abiding citizens can't have firearms, what's going to stop the criminals from doing what they want to do with us, right? If you look at Chicago, like Illinois has some of the most strict gun laws around, but the city of Chicago alone has more deaths on the weekend than half the states in the United States. One city has more deaths on the weekend alone than most states have in a week. They have very strict gun laws, but where do you find all the illegal guns at? In Ohio. In Chicago.
In the hands of the criminals.
Exactly. And it's not law-abiding citizens that's, you know, with all these deaths. And I think it's all about education. Like you said, our granddaughter knows firearm safety. She knows quite a bit about the law. She'll tell you, you can't do that. That's a felony. Or, she'll tell you, like, we'll watch TV or watching a movie and she's like, they can't do that, because she sat through enough of these classes and she's been around us when we're talking firearm safety and all that. It's all about education. This law is good. Like I said, it has its pros and cons. A lot of people don't get themselves in trouble because all they care about is I can carry my gun now.
Right.
I can't go buy a gun from Ray Ray on the street and carry it thinking I don't have to have a permit. I could just carry this gun. What if Ray Ray bought that gun from Junebug and Junebug bought it from Papa, and Papa done killed 3 people with it? It's got 3 bodies on it. You don't know that. You get caught with that, those bodies are now yours because you got no trail, no paper trail showing when you purchased that firearm. I'm not saying you can't buy a used gun or a gun from somebody. Anytime you buy a firearm from anybody, you need to do a bill of sale, firearm bill of sale. So that protects both parties. But a lot of people are going to get caught up not realizing, I can carry a gun, but is the gun I'm carrying legit?
Right.
That's true. And Alan, for the people that would like to take some type of training, basic firearm training, you provide that for them. So let everybody know when you provide that training and how often, a month or a week, or you provide that training, and let them let them know if they're interested in buying a gun and carrying a gun. They need to get themselves trained properly before they start carrying that gun. And now you're the man to do it.
And you're black owned.
And you're a black owned instructor as well.
Definitely. My wife and I just relocated, so we're no longer in South Florida, but we still have our insurance with 2 different ranges down there, and we're actually in the process of getting some classes together. So we'll start posting on our Facebook page soon, and we'll be sending out messages. But they can reach us at 561-274-2728 or allensfirearm.com. Well, no, you know what? Don't even use the website. That's the best way to use us right now. We're in the process of changing a bunch of things, but we will be doing more classes down there in South Florida and here in Central Florida as well.
Right.
Also, Alan, too, tell the audience that's looking right now and viewing this on Facebook Live, tell them, because I think even a lot of people with their permits, really don't know where they can't take their firearm. And with this new law, even with the license, can you just explain to them, without the permit, can you still put it on your front seat? Go into all of those details about where you can take it and where you cannot take your firearm, permit or no permit.
Right. First of all, they had gone to a good instructor. He would have let them know all that stuff instead of just trying to take their money and run. Okay. We pride ourselves in educating people. Several places you can't carry, and you need to know that. Some people don't realize it, but the post office or any federal building, courthouse, police station, substations, schools, you can't have it on school property. If a school is in session or any school activity is in effect, like you go to a Friday night football game or Saturday football game at a school, if it's a school function, you cannot have your firearm on you, licensed or not licensed.
In your vehicle, though, correct?
In your vehicle, no, you can't have it on school property, period.
Because I thought they had changed that law. I thought they modified that law as far as putting it in vehicles.
That may be in this new law that takes effect July 1st, but if it's not in that new law, which I haven't read up on the entire law yet, you still can't have it on school property.
Okay.
And that's good to know, because some people didn't know that.
You're not supposed to have it on the post office, on the grounds of a post office.
Right.
Hospitals, right?
Hospitals.
Bars.
No. Bar, no. You can go to a restaurant that has a bar, but you can't sit at the bar and you can't indulge in beverages while you're carrying.
Right.
Right.
And that's the reason. And the reason for that is because the alcohol and firearms, they don't mix.
They don't
People
mix.
get
Right.
real bold and have broad shoulders when they get a little alcohol in them. So they don't want firearms and alcohol in the same place. You know,
Correct.
we see what happens out on South Beach all the time, and that's a prime example of alcohol and firearms.
Right. Well, firearms in itself give some people that false sense of, I'm bad, I can, take on the world. And then you magnify when you give them some type of substance, alcohol or any other substance. Just because we're going to a permitless carry doesn't mean you can't get a permit. And I still strongly recommend anybody that can legally get a permit to get a permit. One thing is when you're traveling, like Florida's not the first state to change this. We're the 26th state actually that went to permitless carry. Florida will welcome people from other states. They can carry without a permit, but some states will not. Some states, if you're not a resident of that state, you need to have a concealed permit. And there's like 32 states that recognize the Florida permit. So also another pro to having a permit is insurance. I have an insurance for concealed carry. If I ever get into a situation and I have to defend myself, I don't have to worry about attorney's fees. Because even if, the law says, hey, it was a good shoot, it was self-defense, that doesn't mean I'm protected civilly. Right. Some knuckleheads family might want to say, well, you didn't have to shoot my son, or, they don't want to see what their son or daughter did. All they want to say is I didn't have to kill them.
Yes.
I didn't have to shoot them. So I have insurance to protect me from that. I'm not sure if those insurance companies will extend their policies to non-licensed firearm carriers.
Yeah, I'm going to keep mine. I'm not going to get rid of mine. And also, Alan, tell us about the law as far as permitless carry, with your permit, about carrying the gun still on your front console or your seat or under the seat. Is there any change in that law? Because a lot of people definitely, Alan, is going to go to jail on this one right here.
Right. Well, if you don't have a permit and you have a firearm in your car, like prior to the law changing, you were able to carry it even if you didn't have a permit, but it couldn't be easily accessible. So you had to have it in a case or put away in a glove box or somewhere where you couldn't just reach and grab it. With this law, it may have changed a little bit, but you still don't want to have that thing sitting on a seat, because there's a lot of police officers that welcome citizens to carry, but then with certain people, some of them get real nervous. And if you drive in a car that looked like everybody else's car, or you got a car and they smell the weed coming out there and they pull up there, you got the real dark windows and you let the window down, they see a gun on the seat, bad news.
Yeah.
So it's just, you got to be smart.
And I know one of the aspects too of the laws that I was reading, even just today, where even with permitless carry, you have to produce identification at the demand or the request of the officer right then. Is that correct?
Correct. Now, I haven't read up on the law, and Florida wasn't you weren't required to inform the officer that you have a firearm, although I always tell people you got to play it by ear and you got to use your judgment. If an officer is hostile, whatever, I'm never gonna just say, hey man, I got a firearm, or I'm carrying. Most of the time, no matter what the situation is, I keep myself cool and calm. If I get pulled over, I present them with both my license and my permit, but I don't reach for it at all. If with this new law, if they ask you, always in Florida, if they ask you if you have a firearm, you have to be honest and tell them yes. Okay. You cannot carry a firearm without a permit as of now. Once that law changes, you don't have to have a permit. But if you have a firearm on you, you better have identification, so they can ID you and make sure you're not the prohibited possessor.
And we saw what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I believe it was Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think 2016, 15, 16, what happened to Philando Castile. He told Officer Yanez that he was a licensed, he had license to carry a firearm. And that officer right now should be sitting in prison, in my opinion, because Officer Yanez quickly pulled his gun while Philando was telling him, I'm reaching to get my registration and license. And Yanez, knee-jerk reaction, pulled his gun out and shot him. And I can still remember his girlfriend, the Facebook Live where he was over there dying, moaning and dying. And, he told the officer that he had a permit. So we know what can go. That's right. We know what can and go wrong when it comes, especially to Black people. And I know a lot of people might not want to hear that and say, oh, he's pushing race. No, I'm not, because that's a real reality when it comes to a Black person having a firearm and a white person having a firearm.
Well, you know what? When I'm teaching my classes, because I don't care what your ethnicity is, as long as you're, law-abiding citizen and you come to be educated, I'm going to educate you. That question comes up a lot. People want to know, why is it different for Blacks or whites or whatever? I honestly think it's all about education and training, okay? Law enforcement, I had a class that was one of the officers from down south there. He set up a class for me to teach a bunch of his friends because he wanted them to be properly educated. And when I was speaking, he came to me during the intermission and he was like, bro, I haven't heard some of this since since I was in the academy. He goes, but you went further than even they did in the academy. And I can't believe you got that much information to these people in this couple hours. And he was like, more people need to train such as you do, because I'm teaching people, I leave race out of it. I want you to be smart. Because my mom taught me something before I started driving. She said, don't get out there and argue with those people. If they pull you over, comply, do whatever, because we can always get your lawyer and fight whatever the case. But I can't bring you back from the dead.
Right.
Okay? So that meant a lot to me. And then some of these officers, they get out there, they haven't been properly trained. I honestly think all police officers, all officers need to go through the same training that military go through, okay? I don't think the academy goes far enough to train them and prepare them to be on the streets, because they got to be able to keep a cool head under pressure. If you look at some of these officers, they are super nervous. And when they see somebody who they may feel is a threat, Black or white, they're going to react as such. But then also you got our kids. We don't raise them properly and teach them to respect authority. Not saying we got to bow down to anybody. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you driving, you speeding and they pull you over, don't start while you pull me over because I'm Black. Don't give them ammunition, okay? If you're dirty, you got weed in the car, why are you gonna sit there and fight it? Take that charge and take it to court.
That's right.
A lot of times we make it worse because we're trying to get rid of the weed and they think we're reaching for something.
Right.
Right. I'm licensed to carry a firearm. I carry everywhere I go. That's legal. But when I get pulled over, I hand them my stuff and I keep my hands where they can see them. If they ask me if I'm carrying, I will tell them I'm carrying. If they ask me where, I'm not going to reach down and touch it. I'm going to explain to them where it is. It's on my right hip or it's in my console. Yeah. And under no circumstances am I going to touch that. If they say hand it to me or whatever, there's no way I'm reaching for that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So still, some people said there was a setup. The cop told him to get it and then shot him. I don't know. I wasn't there. Right. But if he had been educated properly, man, I am not reaching for my backpack, which I personally don't like carrying a firearm anywhere but on my person. I don't believe in those fanny packs and backpacks and all the, no, I want it on my person where I know I can get to it. If I should lose that backpack or sit it down, my firearm is not going to be taken away by somebody. Right. Also, if something goes down, I got to try to get it out of the backpack.
That's right. That's right. And you got to be quick too.
Exactly. And my ID, I just took my wallet off of me because I'm, doing the podcast. But my ID, I always keep my ID in my pocket. When I get pulled over, I have that stuff out before them people get out of their car because I don't want to be reaching for anything. If I'm on the highway, if I'm traveling, from Central Florida to South Florida or driving to Georgia somewhere, I take my wallet out and sit it on the console so it's easily accessible.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to be reaching for anything. I want to make anybody feel threatened by me.
And this is why people need to have some type of training before they go out and buy a firearm, so they know what to do if you get pulled over, what not to do, where you can carry a firearm, where you can't have it on the seat, you can't stick it up under the seat. It has to be in the glove box or in your armrest. It has to be, or in the trunk. It can't be up under the seat or anything. And this is why training is important, very important.
Well, another thing, people are going to get themselves in trouble because they're going to go buy a firearm, but they're going to be too cheap to buy a holster.
Right.
Just have it stuck in their waistband and it's going to fall out, and pray to God that it's, decent firearm that's not going to, misfire because you dropped it.
Right.
But scare the heck out of people as well.
Yes, it will.
Or you got to keep reaching for, you got to keep adjusting it because it's in your waistband, especially if you're wearing basketball shorts or something. People might assume you're going to do something crazy. Right. Now, with this law, there's already in Florida, you already don't want to go anywhere in Florida and start acting a fool because you don't know who's carrying a gun.
That's right.
There's so many people carrying guns that you would never think about. I've trained, my wife and I've trained many pastors and many security teams for different churches or whatnot. Also, I've trained some little old ladies, little old men, and then I've also run across some elderly people. I'm talking well into their 70s and 80s that's carrying. Right. So you never know who has a firearm, right? With this new law, even more people are going to have a firearm now because a lot of people that don't look like us didn't want to get a permit because they didn't want to, they didn't want the government in their business. You know what I mean? It's not their business. So a lot of them are going to be carrying more now that they don't have to have a permit. Right. So if you're somewhere and you get into a disagreement with somebody and you trying to just adjust it because it's sliding, they assume you're pulling your firearm out. What's going to happen?
Right. They're going to shoot first.
Exactly. Or if you do something and you're in the store and you pull it out, there's somebody standing behind you. They think you're about to rob the store and kill everybody. What are they going to do? They're going to shoot you.
Right.
You got to, just like you spend money on your Jordans or whatever, you got to spend money on the proper gear to carry your firearm. I'm not saying you buy $300-$400 holster, but buy yourself something decent where it's there. A lot of times I forget my firearms on me because it's that comfortable.
Right. And I think every household that's legal, that's anyone that's legal, I think every household should have a firearm in it, because if you just look at the vicinity where we're from, where you grew up at, and just knowing South Florida and any other city, the criminals are more well armed than the police. And that is why the criminals for years have gotten the drop on the law-abiding citizen. And I understand where the politicians coming from. They feel like for years that the criminal had the advantage. And if you ask me, I believe they have. You turn on the news, all you see is crimes against people, crimes against young, elderly. And in this day and time, I hear all the time, 12-year-olds carrying guns, 12, 13-year-olds carrying guns. So I would advise everyone that's law-abiding, don't have a felony record, to go get proper training and store the gun in a safe place away from your kids. And at some point when you feel right, take your kids for training. It's like you said, a better educated, well-informed family of gun can make a difference.
Right. I'll tell you, when I was growing up, we didn't have a gun in the house because my mom didn't want any guns. My daddy wanted a gun. Mom said no. We didn't get a gun until somebody broke in. You know, I see that a lot these days. I have people telling me I don't need a gun, I don't want a gun. I live in a nice neighborhood. I got a security system. I have cameras. I got a guard gate. All that stuff is just, it's steps that people got to take. But if they really want something out of your place, or they want something from somebody in that development, they can get it. There's so many times we find out that people that's working guard gates are taking payoffs from people so they can come in and rob houses. I had a friend when I was riding motorcycles, his motorcycle got stolen like that because somebody paid the guard to let them in with a van. And they went in and stole. They were going to get somebody else's motorcycle, and he happened to be visiting somebody else, so they got two for him. Mm-hmm. So people have that false sense of security with guard gates and alarms. We have an alarm. We have cameras. I consider my cameras witnesses. Could be good witness or bad witness, depending on how the light strikes or how the person's covered up. That alarm is an alert. Let me know that something's been breached. We are the protectors of our house, not those things. Those things are just tools we, use to help us stay, on top of things. But we protect our house.
Yes. I had my permit since 1987. And, I worked security for over 20 years in the security industry. I can't even really remember in the security industry having to pull my gun. And in the security industry, I carried a 357, 38, and a 9mm when they allowed. And, I just still say you have to be responsible. You have to not take that because I have a gun badass approach and think because you have a gun, because here in South Florida, Texas, and Georgia, and South Carolina, everyone else got guns just like you have. And I just ask that people out there be careful now with this new law and think before you pull your gun on anyone, folks. Think, because that gun can cost you to spend the rest of your days in a Florida state prison. So I just ask for people to think twice about this new law. And I also think that the governor and everyone else better order a good supply of body bags, because I really do think that we're gonna need them after this law. And it's not gonna be the responsible gun owners. It's gonna be the irresponsible gun owners and the criminals. Right. That's what I think. That's my thoughts.
Another thing about this law is it's permitless carry, not open carry. Okay. It's not like Texas or some of these other states that's open carry. You still have to have it concealed. And if you know someone who wants to carry a firearm, talk them into getting some training. They don't have to get trained with me. Find anybody that's a good trainer, but get some type of training.
Well, you are the best. You are the best. So I mean, you will be doing the training. So put your information out there again, man. Give them your information. Your
social media.
Are you on social media?
We haven't been real active on it. I do have a Facebook page on social media. It's Allen's Firearm Training, LLC, 561-274-2728.
2728. Okay.
You on Instagram?
You on Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter?
I'm not real active on that. I said I'm gonna get more active this year, but I do have Facebook and I do have an Instagram. It's Holiday the Trainer.
Right.
But we're
I follow you on Instagram. I'm always looking at your stuff. You put good stuff up.
I don't put a lot up, but we try to, most of my stuff is family oriented, or we put a little bit about the business,
That's right.
Are you on Instagram under Allen's Firearm Training, or what are you what is your name on Instagram?
Holiday the Trainer.
Holiday the Trainer.
Holiday the Trainer. Okay, so if you're on Instagram, look up Holiday the Trainer, HOLLIDAY the Trainer.
Yeah, we will be more active soon. Like I said, we just moved into a new home and we're in the process of setting everything up before we get the studio ready, because we're going to be putting more stuff out there, conversations with law enforcement and otherwise other people. I got a lot of stuff we have lined up. We just haven't been able to kick it off yet with the move.
Okay, well, we've been talking to Allen Holiday, He's on Instagram as Holiday the Trainer. You can find him on Facebook as well under Alan Holiday. He's the owner of Allen's Firearms Training. And we strongly advise you all to, if you want to carry a firearm in Florida, to get some training with Alan.
Read
Alan,
up on the law too.
read up on the laws,
The
educate,
actual law.
educate yourselves. You know, ignorance of the law is no excuse when you get caught with a firearm where you're not supposed to have it and you end up going to jail. So
Practice.
right. Practice. Don't
That's-
assume that gun shoots, take it to the range and shoot it.
And clean it.
And clean it.
Maintain it.
You have to build that muscle memory, just like when you're playing sports or anything else, driving, you have to build that muscle memory. So in a heated situation, when your brain and your body is not working together, it should come natural to you. You know,
Absolutely.
train. Daryl, I'm gonna get back with you because that range we went to a while back, it's under new ownership now. It's been totally remodeled. It's clean. It's fresh, and that's where we do a lot of our training.
Okay. Yeah.
It's our Revere gun range.
Yes.
Totally redone. It's under new ownership.
All right.
Clean. They have some, good stuff going on over there too. We've been doing quite a few things together.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to know. So once again, we've been talking to Mr. Alan Holiday of Allen's Firearms Training. We want to thank you for coming by and sharing your expertise and
With the Adams Brothers.
with the Adams Brothers podcast, man. And congratulations on your new home up there in Central Florida, man. We're gonna be stopping through to see you there sometime, and
Thank you.
anytime we want to know something about firearms, man, we're gonna look you up on hit you up and want you to come back on here, man.
He's the best.
He's
Most
the best,
definitely,
man.
We got to put something together to get the people out outdoor range. Go out and have a range day with the people. Not anything I'm trying to get paid for. I just want to go out and we want to every now and then want to go out and just invite people to come out and train.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll look forward to it, and we'll keep in contact. And thanks again, man, for coming on the Adams Brothers podcast, man. And
Thank
say
our
hello to
listeners. Thank our viewers too.
Yeah, right, man. And say hello to your wife for us too, man. We appreciate you.
We'll do. Thanks for the invite, guys.
All right.
All right. Blessings.
Be blessed.
Have a good evening. You're welcome. You're welcome.